Audiobooks presents Consolation by Lucius Annaeus Seneca. Delve into the timeless wisdom of Seneca. This work offers you a philosophical refuge from pain and loss. Through his words, you will discover the inner strength needed to face adversity and find serenity. Prepare for a deep meditation on human nature. You will learn how reason and philosophy can console the soul in the darkest moments. Our bodies, when compared to others, seem robust. But if you reduce them to nature, which destroys all things and returns them to the state from which they originated, they are perishable. For what immortal thing can mortal hands create? Those 7 wonders, and should the ambition of future ages erect even more admirable ones, will one day be razed to the ground. Therefore, nothing is perpetual, and few things last long. Some are fragile in one way, others in another. The ends vary, but everything that had a beginning must have an end. Some threaten the world with death, and, if it is lawful to believe it, a day will come that will dissipate this universe which encompasses all human things, burying them in its ancient confusion and darkness. Let someone then go out and mourn these things in the souls of every individual. Let him also lament the ashes of Carthage, Numantia, and Corinth, and anything else that may have fallen from a greater height, for even that which has no place to fall must fall. Let another come forth as well, and complain that the fates, which perhaps will dare ineffable ventures, did not spare him. How much more just was he who, upon receiving news of his son's death, pronounced a maxim worthy of a great man. When I fathered him, I knew he had to die. Truly, you will not wonder that the man who was to have the courage to die with fortitude was born of him. He did not receive his son's death as a strange embassy, for what is new about a man dying, whose life is nothing more than a journey towards death? When I fathered him, I knew he had to die. After this, he added something of greater spirit and prudence, saying, I raised him for this purpose. We are all born for this, and everyone who comes to life is destined for death. Let us all, then, rejoice with what it gives us, and return it when it is requested. The fates will encompass some at one time and others at another, but they will leave no one free. Let the spirit be prepared and not fear. Rather, let it expect what is inevitable. Why should I mention many captains and their entire lineage, and other men distinguished by their many consulships and triumphs who have ended with inexorable fate? Entire kingdoms with their kings, and peoples with their citizens, underwent their destiny. All people and all things await the final day, although the end of all is not the same. Life forsakes one in the middle of the course, another at the very beginning, and another, weary of extreme servitude and wishing to escape it, is barely set free. Some of us go at one time and others at another, but we are all headed to the same place. I cannot tell you whether it is greater foolishness to ignore the law of mortality, or greater shamelessness to refuse it. Come now, take up those works celebrated by the great labor of your genius. I mean, the verses of the 2 authors that you translated in such a way that, although they did not retain their composition, they retained their grace. For you transferred them from one language to another so skillfully that, being such a difficult thing, all their virtues followed you into the foreign tongue. You will not find any book in all those writings that fails to give you many varied examples of human changeability, of uncertain outcomes, and of the vain tears that are shed, now for this, now for that reason. Read what you intoned with a gallant spirit on great matters, and you will be ashamed that you must briefly finish and fall from such a great height of style. Do not let those who recently admired your writings ask, how is it possible that such a fragile spirit conceived such great and solid things? Turn your gaze from these things that torment you to the many that console you. Focus your eyes on such good brothers, on your wife, and on your son. For the health of all these, Fortune has made an agreement with you in this portion. Many remain with whom you may find peace. Rid yourself of this mark, so that not everyone understands that one pain has greater power over you than so many consolations. You see that all these are wounded together with you, and that they cannot relieve themselves, and that they instead wait for you to console them. Thus, the less doctrine and genius there is in them, the more necessary it is for you to resist the common evil. Part of the consolation is to divide the pain among many, because with this, the part that settles in you will be small. I will not fail to remind you many times of Caesar, because governing the world and showing how the empire is guarded more safely with benefits than with arms, and presiding over human affairs, there is no danger that you feel any loss. This one man is a sufficient shield and consolation for you. Take courage, and whenever tears come to your eyes, fix them on Caesar. They will dry with the sight of that great and clearest majesty. His splendor will attract them so that they cannot look at anything else, and will keep them fixed on him. In him, on whom you fix your gaze day and night and never turn away from your mind, you must place your thoughts, invoking him against fortune. And I do not doubt, given his gentleness and liberality toward all his close associates, that he will have already healed this wound of yours with many consolations, and that he will have given you something that has stanched your pain. How could he not have done so? Does not Caesar himself, merely seen or imagined, suffice for a great consolation? May the gods and goddesses lend him to the earth for many days. May he exceed the deeds and years of the divine Augustus. But let them ensure that the time which is mortal does not see anything mortal in his house, and that with long faith he approves his son as governor of the Roman Empire, holding him as a partner rather than a successor. May the day when his people celebrate him in heaven be very late, and in the time of our grandchildren. Avert your hands, O Fortune, from this man, and do not show your power in him, unless it is in a way that will be beneficial to him. Allow him to remedy the human race, which has been sick and wearied for a long time. Allow him to repair everything that the madness of his predecessor broke apart. May this star, which rose to give light to the world when it was plunged into the abyss and drowned in darkness, always shine. May this man pacify Germania, open the passage to Britannia, and carry out the triumphs of his father and his own together. His clemency, which holds the first place among his other virtues, promises that I will be one of those who see them. For he did not overthrow me in such a way that I failed to rise. Rather, I should say that he did not overthrow me, but that, being driven by fortune, he sustained me. And as I was about to fall, he, using the moderation of a divine hand, gently put me down. He interceded for me with the Senate. And not only did he grant me life, but he asked for it. Let him determine the form in which my case is judged. His justice will declare it good, or his clemency will make it so. I will recognize the benefit equally, whether he comes to know that I am innocent or declares that I am. In the meantime, it is a great consolation in my labors to see that his clemency is spread throughout the whole world. I do not fear that he will leave me alone when, from the corner where I am confined, he rescues many others whom the ruin of the times overthrew. He knows the season in which he must help each person, and I will ensure that he does not regret that his favor reaches me. O happiness! For your clemency, Caesar, makes the exiles of your time have more peace than the princes had in the empire of Gaius. They do not live with fear or hope of seeing the knife every hour, nor are they terrified by the arrival of any ship. In you, they conceive the temperament of angry fortune, as well as the hope of improvement and the tranquility of the present. Be certain that those rays are most just, which even the wounded venerate. Either I am mistaken, or this prince who is the consolation of all men will have recreated your spirit, applying effective remedies to such a severe wound. and that he will have encouraged you in every way, and that with his tenacious memory he will have recalled all the examples with which you may recover the equality of your spirit, and that with his accustomed eloquence he has represented to you the precepts of all the wise men. Thus, no one better than him will be able to take charge of persuading you. The reasons spoken by him will have a different weight, and as if coming from an oracle, his divine authority will undo the force of your pain. I imagine him telling you, "You are not the only one whom fortune has seized to inflict such a great injury upon. No house has been nor is there one without some tears." I will omit the vulgar examples, which, although minor, are admirable. I want to take you to the public records and annals. Do you see all these images that adorn Caesar's palace? None of them was distinguished without some distress to their own. None of these men who shone for the ornament of the ages failed to be afflicted with the deaths of their relatives, or their death caused affliction of spirit to their own. Why should I mention Scipio Africanus, to whom the news of his brother's death came while he was in exile? This man, who freed him from prison, could not free him from fate, it being manifest to all how impatient the love of Africanus was, since without submitting to the common law, the very day he took his brother from the hands of the bailiffs, he, being a private person, opposed the authority of the tribunal of the people. This man, then, bore the death of his brother with the same courage with which he had defended him. Why should I mention Scipio Aemilianus, who saw the triumph of his father and the burial of two brothers almost at the same time, and, though he was a youth and of a boyish age, he suffered that sudden calamity of his house which fell upon the triumph of Paulus, bearing it with as great a spirit as was appropriate for a man who had been born so that Rome would not lack a Scipio, nor Carthage remain standing. Why should I mention the concord of the two Luculi broken by death? Why the Pompeys, whom angry fortune did not even allow to finish with the same fall? Sextus Pompey lived, his sister remaining alive, and with her death the bonds of Roman peace, which were well united, were loosened. Likewise, he returned after his good brother died, whom fortune had raised only to overthrow him from no less a height than that from which she had overthrown his father. And yet, after these events he resisted not only grief, but also wars. Innumerable examples come from all sides of brothers whom death divided. Indeed, scarcely any pairs have been seen who reached old age together. But I want to content myself with the examples from my own house, for no one will be so lacking in sense and understanding as to complain that fortune brought him tears, if he considers that she has not reserved Caesar from them. The divine Augustus lost Octavia, his dearest sister, and nature did not exempt him from the necessity of weeping, and she who raised him to the heavens did not privilege him in tears. Instead, being afflicted with every kind of death, he also lost his sister's son, who was destined to succeed him. Finally, so as not to count all his sorrows, he lost sons-in-law, sons, and grandsons. And none of the mortals, while he lived among men, knew more what it meant to be mortal than he. Nevertheless, that heart of his, most capable of all things, although he began so many and such great lamentations, was not only the conqueror of nations, but also of sorrows. Gaius Caesar, grandson of the divine Augustus, my grandfather, in the first years of his youth, being prince of the youth, lost his dearest brother Lucius, who was also prince of the youth in the preparation for the Parthian War. This wound to his spirit was greater than the one he later received in his body, having suffered both blows with virtue and fortitude. Caesar, my uncle, amidst embraces and kisses, lost Drusus Germanicus, my father, his younger brother, when he was opening up the most closed parts of Germany, subjecting those most ferocious peoples to the Roman Empire. But he not only put an end to his tears, but to those of others and the whole army, which was not only sad but astonished. And when he asked for the body of his Drusus for himself, he led the army to make their weeping conform to Roman custom, judging that discipline should be maintained not only in military matters, but also in mourning. He could not have restrained the tears of others if he had not first restrained his own. Marcus Antonius. My grandfather, inferior to no one except him by whom he was conquered, heard of the death of a brother at a time when, adorned with the triumviral power and recognizing nothing superior to him except his two colleagues, and holding all others as inferior, he was establishing the Republic. O unrestrained fortune, who makes human evils a delight for yourself. At the very time when Marcus Antonius was the arbiter of the life or death of his citizens, at that same time a sister of his was led to execution, and he endured this very grave wound with the same greatness of spirit with which he had suffered other adversities. And his lamentation was to perform the funeral rites for his brother with the blood of 20 legions. But leaving aside many examples and passing over other burials in my own family, fortune has attacked me twice with the deaths of 2 brothers, and both times she has recognized that, although she has been able to offend me, she has not been able to conquer me. I lost my brother Germanicus, whom I loved as much as one who knows how good brothers love can understand. But I governed my emotions in such a way that I neither failed to do anything that good brothers ought to do, nor did I do anything that was reprehensible in a prince. Observe, Polybius, that the father of all is the one who has recounted these examples to you, and he himself has shown you that for fortune nothing is sacred or reserved, since she dared to take burials from the family from which she was to take gods. Thus, let no one be surprised at what he sees her do wickedly and cruelly. Can it, perhaps, be hoped that she will have any pity or modesty with private houses? She whose cruelty stained the imperial chambers with deaths. Even if we utter more insults against her, not only with our tongues but with those of all men, she is not changed by it. Instead, she is emboldened by complaints and entreaties. This is what fortune has been in human affairs, and this she will always be. She has left nothing untouched, and she will leave nothing untouched. She will always proceed more violently in all things, daring, as is her custom, to enter with injury those houses that are entered through temples, clothing the laurel-crowned doors in mourning. Let us obtain this only from her through public vows and prayers, that if she has not resolved to destroy the human race, and if she still looks with favorable eyes upon the Roman name, she may be pleased to hold this prince as sacrosanct, as all mortals hold him. For he was given for the repair of human affairs, which were so fallen. Learn clemency and gentleness from this most pious prince. You ought, therefore, to fix your eyes on all those who have been mentioned, who are either already in heaven or close to entering it. And with this you will be able to endure with an equality of spirit the injuries of fortune that stretch out their hands towards you, since they do not spare those by whom we swear. You must imitate the firmness of Caesar in enduring and conquering griefs, walking, as far as is lawful for men, in divine footsteps. Although there is a great difference in dignities and other things, virtue is always in the middle, disdaining none of those who are judged worthy of it. You will do well if you imitate those who, being able to be indignant at not being exempt from this evil, did not consider it an injury, but a right of mortality to be equal to other men, and bore the events neither with excessive harshness and anger, nor basely and effeminately. Not to feel evils is not the mark of men, and not to bear them is not the mark of men of valor. Having mentioned all the Caesars from whom fortune took brothers and sisters, I cannot pass over in silence the one who ought to be repelled from the number of the Caesars, for he was created by nature for the destruction and shame of the human race. The one who left the empire utterly lost for the clemency of our most pious prince to restore it. When Gaius Caesar's sister Drusilla died, a death over which he ought to have felt joy rather than grief, he fled from the sight and company of his citizens, and neither attended his sister's funeral rites nor fulfilled his obligations, but went instead to his Alban villa. Did he, perchance, lighten the pain of the bitterest death by attending the tribunal, listening to lawyers, or with other business of this kind? Oh, the shame of the empire that in the death of a sister, dice were the consolation of the spirit of a Roman prince. This same Gaius, with mad inconstancy, walked about, now with his beard and hair unkempt, now measuring the coasts of Italy and Sicily without purpose, never being certain whether he wanted his sister to be mourned or venerated. For at the same time that he decided to build temples and altars for her, he punished with the cruelest demonstration those whom he saw were not sad enough. Because he bore the blows of adverse events with the same lack of self-control with which, uplifted by prosperous ones, he grew insolent beyond human measure. Let us keep far away from any Roman man this example of one who either cast off his weeping with untimely games, or awakened it with the ugliness of filthy and dirty attire, rejoicing in the misfortunes of others and in human consolations. You do not have to change your custom, because you always resolved to love those studies that elevate happiness with temperance and diminish adversities with ease. And these studies, besides being a great ornament to men, are also great consolations. Immerse yourself, then, more deeply in your studies on this occasion. Surround yourself with them now, setting them up as a defense for your spirit. Let grief find no entrance into you anywhere. Likewise, extend the memory of your brother in some work of your writings, because in human things this alone is that which no tempest harms and no old age consumes. All other things which consist either in works of stone, or in marble structures, or in mounds of earth raised to a great height, will not last long, because they are subject to death. The memory of genius is immortal. Give this to your brother, placing him within it. It is better that you eternalize him with your lasting genius than that you mourn him with vain grief. As for fortune, this is not the time for her cause to be brought before you, because everything she gave us becomes hateful with whatever she takes away. This cause will be dealt with when time makes you a more dispassionate judge of it, and then you will be able to return to her friendship, because she has prepared many things with which to amend this injury, and not a few with which to compensate for it. And finally, everything she took from you, she had given to you. Do not, then, wish to use your talent against yourself, nor help your grief with it. Your eloquence can qualify small things as great, and attenuate and diminish the greatest. But reserve these forces for another occasion, and now let them all be occupied in your consolation. Also, be mindful that this grief does not appear weak, for although nature desires some, a greater amount is taken on out of vanity. I will not ask you to refrain from tears entirely, although there are some men, of a prudence more stubborn than strong, who affirm that the wise man must not weep. It seems that those who say this have not experienced such events, for otherwise, fortune would have stripped them of this arrogant wisdom, forcing them to confess the truth against their will. Reason will not do little if it lops off the superfluous and superabundant from grief, because to wish that none at all be permitted can neither be hoped for nor desired. Let us maintain such a temperament, then, that we show neither lack of affection nor madness, keeping ourselves in the state of an affectionate and not angry spirit. Let the tears flow, but let the stream have an end. Let groans come from the depths of the chest, but let them also have a limit. Govern your spirit in such a way that the wise men and your brothers approve of you. Try to frequently recall the memory of your brother to celebrate him in conversations and to keep him present with continuous remembrance. You will achieve this if you make his memory pleasant and not painful to you, because it is natural for the spirit to always flee from that which it approaches with sadness. Reflect on his modesty. Reflect on the measure he had for all things. Reflect on the industry with which he executed them, and finally, on the constancy of what he promised. Recount all his sayings to others. Celebrate his deeds, remembering them. Remember what he was and what he was expected to be, for from such a brother, what thing could not be expected with certainty? I have composed these things in the best way I could with my spirit unaccustomed and sluggish in this very distant place. And if they seem to satisfy your talent little, or remedy your grief little, consider that Latin words do not easily help him who is deafened by the disorderly and heavy clamor of barbarians, who is of such arrogant and unrestrained presumption that, in this inevitable necessity of nature, which produced all things to the same end, he should pretend that he and his family must be exempt. Wishing to free some house from the ruin that threatens the entire world, it will, therefore, be a great consolation for everyone to think that what is happening to him is what all those who have passed suffered, and what all those who are to come will suffer. And I judge that for this reason, nature wished everything that she made more bitter to be common, so that equality might serve as a consolation in the harshness of fate. And it will not help you little to consider that grief will be of no benefit either to you or to the person you lost. Therefore, you should not wish that to last which will be fruitless for both. If we are to gain anything with sadness, I do not refuse to give to your misfortune the share of tears that remains of mine. If they are to be of any benefit to you, I will still find some moisture in these eyes consumed with domestic weeping. Do not cease, let us weep, for I wish to take up this cause as my own. In the judgment of all, you were reputed, O Fortune, to be most cruel in having turned away from him who, by your favor, had reached such high esteem that his happiness, a thing that rarely happens, was already free from envy. Behold him to whom you gave the greatest grief he could receive while Caesar lived. And after having surrounded him on all sides, you realized that this place alone remained open to your wounds. For what other harm could you do him? Should you take away his riches? He never lived subject to them, and now, as much as he can, he rejects them. And amidst such great prosperity in acquiring them, he extracts no greater fruit from them than the opportunity to despise them. Should you take away his friends? You knew that he was so lovable that he could easily substitute others in place of those you took away. For of all the powerful people I have known in the houses of princes, this is the only one I have seen whose friendship, though so useful, is sought more out of affection than interest. Should you take away his good reputation, he had it so firmly established that you were not powerful enough to discredit him. Should you deprive him of his health, you knew that his spirit, not only raised but born in the sciences, was so well founded that it rose above all bodily pains. Should you take away his life, how great a harm do you think you would inflict upon him? Since fame has promised him a very long age, he ensured that this would last for him in the best part, for having done excellent works of eloquence he freed himself from mortality. As long as honor is given to letters, and as long as the vigor of the Latin tongue and the grace of the Greek are preserved, he will live among the illustrious men whose geniuses he equaled. And if his modesty refuses this, he will live among those to whom he dedicated himself. You, then, aimed at those by whom you could offend him the most, because the better each one is, the more he knows how to bear you when he sees you infuriated without cause and terrible amidst your blandishments. What did it cost you to leave free from injury that man to whom your liberality seemed to have come, moved more by reason than by your usual caprice? Let us add, if you think fit, to these complaints the good inclination of that youth whom you cut down amidst his first growth. The deceased, O Polybius, was worthy of having you as a brother, and you are most worthy of having no occasion to grieve, even for the death of some unworthy brother. He has equal testimony from all men who miss him in your honor, praising him in his own, without his ever having done anything that you would not gladly acknowledge. You would have been a good brother even to a less worthy one, but your piety, having found suitable material in him, extended itself with greater freedom. No one knew his power with injury. He threatened no one with the fact that you were his brother. He had adjusted himself to the example of your modesty. For as much as you are an honor to your lineage, you are a burden for him to imitate, and he fulfilled this obligation. O cruel fates, never just with virtues! Your brother was snatched away before he knew his happiness. I see well that this indignation of mine is not sufficient, because there is nothing so difficult as finding words proportionate to a great grief. But come on, if it is to be of any benefit to us, let us complain. What did you wish to do, O unjust and violent fortune? Oh, did you repent so soon of your gifts? What cruelty is this? You caused a division between two brothers, undoing the most harmonious partnership with bloody robbery, and disturbing the house adorned with such concordant young men, without there being any among them who degenerated. You sacrificed it without any reason. According to this, neither is innocence aligned with the laws of benefit, nor ancient frugality, nor the power of great happiness, nor observed abstinence, nor the sincere and pure love of letters, nor a conscience clean of all stain. Polybius weeps, and warned by the death of a brother of what he can fear in the others, he comes to fear the very thing that is the consolation of his grief. An unworthy feat. Polybius weeps, having Caesar propitious to him. Undoubtedly, O fortune, you undertook this cruelty to show that no one can be defended from your hands, not even by Caesar himself. We can complain of the fates many times, but we cannot change them, because they are harsh and inexorable. No one moves them with reproaches, nor with tears, nor with reasons. They spare no one, nor remit anything. Let us, then, leave aside the tears that do not help, and grief will lead us more easily to where the deceased is than return him for us to enjoy him. If grief torments and does not relieve, it is convenient to abandon it at the beginning, withdrawing the spirit from weak consolations and from the bitter desire to weep. If reason does not put an end to our tears, it is certain that fortune will not put it. Come now, fix your eyes on all mortals, and you will see that in all of them there is a long and continuous cause for weeping. Poverty calls one to his daily labor, another fears the riches he coveted, suffering from his own desire. Solicitude afflicts one, care another, and the multitude of those who frequent their halls another. This one complains that he is burdened with children, that they have died. Tears will finish before the causes of grief. Do you not see the life that nature has promised us? Well, she wished the first omen to be weeping. With this beginning, we come into the world, and in it consists the order of the coming years, and in this way we pass our life. Therefore, it is convenient that what must be done many times be done with moderation, and keeping in mind that the many sad things that follow us are many. And if we cannot put an end to the tears, we should at least reserve some. In nothing should there be greater moderation than in this, of which the use is so frequent. It will also help you greatly to understand that your grief is less pleasing to no one than to the very person to whom you judge you are giving it. He does not want you to torment yourself, or he does not understand that you are tormenting yourself. According to this, there is no reason at all for this display. For if the one for whom it is done does not feel it, it is superfluous, and if he feels it, it is painful to him. I dare to say that in the entire world, there is no person who delights in your tears. Tell me, then, what are they for? Do you think that your brother has against you the spirit that no other has, wishing you to torment yourself with your affliction, and that he intends to separate you from your occupations, from your studies, and from the service of Caesar. This is not plausible because he always loved you as a brother, venerated you as a father, and respected you as a superior. And thus, although he wants you to miss him, he does not want you to torment yourself. Of what use is it then that grief consumes you, which your own brother, if there are feelings in the deceased, desires to end? I would say this with doubt of other brothers, of whose will there was not such sure certainty. If your brother desired you to torment yourself with ceaseless tears, he would not be worthy of this affection of yours, and if he does not wish it, cease that useless grief, because the little loving brother should not be wept for so much, and the one who is loving will not wish you to weep for him. In this man, in whom love was so well known, we must hold it as certain that nothing can be more bitter to him than this event. If it is bitter for you, and if it torments you in any way and disturbs your eyes most unworthy of all evil, and if it drains them without putting an end to the tears, nothing will turn your love away from those useless tears so much as thinking that you must give your brothers an example of enduring this injury of fortune with fortitude. On this occasion, you must do what great captains do in grave events, in which they deliberately show joy, concealing adverse cases with feigned rejoicing, so that the soldiers do not lose heart seeing their captain's spirit broken. You must do the same, showing a face unlike your spirit. And if you can accomplish it within yourself, you should discard grief entirely. And if you cannot, at least lock it up inside, imprisoning it so that it is not seen. Try to make your brothers imitate you, because they will hold as just everything they see you do, and they will form their spirit from your countenance. And since you are to be the consolation and the consoler for them, you will not be able to impede their grief if you give long reins to your own. The persuasion that none of the things you do can be hidden will also turn away excessive grief from you. The common applause of men has given you great esteem. It is fitting to preserve it. All this multitude of consolers who have surrounded you, attending to your spirit, watches what strength you have against grief, and observing whether you know how to use such skill in prosperous things that you know how to bear adverse ones manfully, they fix their eyes on yours. The actions of those whose affections can be concealed are more free. For you there is no free secret, since fortune has placed you in great light. Everyone will know how you governed yourself in this wound, and whether upon receiving it you surrendered your arms, or whether you stood firm in your post. For days, Caesar's love raised you to the high estate to which your studies brought you. No common and humble action is proper for you. What is so base and effeminate as to surrender yourself to grief to be consumed by it? In equal feeling, what is permitted to your brothers is not permitted to you. The received opinion of your studies and customs does not allow you many things. Much is what men want and expect from you. If you wanted everything to be permissible for you, you should not have attracted the eyes of all to yourself. Now it is necessary that you give everything you promised to those who praise and celebrate the works of your genius. For although some do not need your fortune, many need your talent. They are the watchtower of your spirit, so that you can never do any action unworthy of a perfect and erudite man, without many repenting of what they admired in your abilities. It is not permissible for you to weep excessively. And not only is this not permissible for you, but it is not permissible to extend your sleep even a minimal part of the day, nor to flee from the multitude of affairs, withdrawing to the leisure of your garden, nor to recreate your body, fatigued with the attention of your laborious office, with some voluntary walk, nor to encourage your spirit with a variety of spectacles, nor to arrange the day at your will. Many things are not permissible for you that are permissible for humble men who are despised in the corners. Great fortune is very great servitude. It is not permissible for you to do anything for your pleasure. You have to give audience to so many thousands of men. You have to arrange so many memorials. You have to attend to the dispatch of so many things that occur from all parts of the world to be able to fulfill the order of such an important ministry and office. And this requires a calm spirit. I say that it is not permissible for you to weep, because to have time to hear the lamentations of many who suffer, and so that the tears of those who wish to reach the mercy of the most pious Caesar may be of use, you must wipe away your own. Consider the faith and industry you owe to his love, and you will understand that it is not permissible for you to withdraw, just as it is not permissible for him who, as the fables say, has the world on his shoulders. For Caesar himself, you do too, whom everything is permissible. Many things are not permissible for this reason. His care defends the houses of all, his industry the delights of all, and his occupation the rest of all. From the day Caesar dedicated himself to the government of the world, he deprived himself of the use of himself, just as those others who must incessantly run their course without it being permissible for them to stop or occupy themselves with anything of their own. Thus, in a certain way, the same obligation falls upon you, it not being permissible for you to turn your eyes to your own advantages or to your studies. Since Caesar possesses the world, he cannot be divided between pleasure or grief or any other thing, because you owe yourself entirely to Caesar. Add to this that, confessing that you love Caesar more than your life, it is not permissible for you, while you live, to complain of fortune. While Caesar lives, all your relatives are safe. You have not suffered any loss, and thus you must have not only dry eyes, but cheerful ones. In Caesar you have everything, and he suffices for all your needs. You will be little grateful to fortune, a thing that is very far from your most prudent senses, if, while Caesar lives, you allow tears. I also want to give you another remedy, if not firmer, at least more familiar. The time when you withdraw to your house is the time when you may fear sadness, because while you are looking at Caesar, it will have no entry into you, for he will possess you entirely. But when you move away from his sight, then, taking advantage of the occasion, grief will set ambushes for your solitude, and little by little it will enter your spirit, finding you unoccupied. It is necessary that you do not allow yourself to be separated from your studies for any time. Then letters, loved by you for so long and with such happiness, will be pleasing to you, defending their president and venerator. Then Homer and Virgil, to whom the human race owes so much, as they owe you for having made them known to more nations than those for whom they wrote, will assist you for many moments, and with that all the time you entrust to them for them to defend will be safe. Then you will be able to compose the works of your Caesar, so that they may be sung in all ages with domestic proclamation. Write everything you can, for he will give you matter and example to write about all events. I do not dare to go so far as to advise you to link fables and apologies with your accustomed eloquence, a work not yet attempted by Roman geniuses, because it is a difficult thing for a spirit so strongly wounded to be able to pass so quickly to cheerful studies. Hold it as a certain sign that the spirit is strengthened and returned to its natural state if it can pass from grave and serious studies to these freer ones, because in the former, although the austerity of the things it deals with calls it even when it is sick and against its will, it will not admit these others, which must be dealt with an unclouded brow, unless it is completely convalesced. Thus, at the beginning, you must exercise it in more severe matters. and temper it afterward with more cheerful ones. It will also be of great relief to you if you ask yourself this question: is the grief I have in my name or in that of the deceased? If it is in mine, the boast that I used to have of my endurance ceases, and grief begins, without there being any other excuse for it than that it is honest. Because rejecting feeling looks to one's own utility, and nothing is less fitting for a good man than to weep on account and reason for the death of his brother. If I grieve in his name, it is necessary that one of two things be judged. Because if no feeling remains for the deceased, my brother, now free from all the discomforts of life, is restored to the place where he was before he was born, and exempt from all evil, there is nothing he fears, nothing he desires, and nothing he suffers. So what madness is it never to stop grieving for him who will never have grief? If there is any feeling in the deceased, now the spirit of my brother, as if free from a long prison, rejoices, enjoying the sight of the nature of things, despising all human things from a higher place, and seeing more closely the divine things, the knowledge of which he sought in vain for so long. So why do I afflict myself for him who is either blessed or ceases to exist? To weep for the blessed is envy, and for him who does not exist is madness. Are you moved, perhaps, by seeing that he lacks the great goods that surrounded him? When you reflect on the many things he left, consider that there are many things he ceases to fear. Anger will not torment him, nor will illness afflict him. Suspicion will not distress him, nor will devouring envy, the enemy of others' advancement, persecute him. Fear will not worry him, nor will the lightness of fortune, which in an instant transfers her gifts to others, disturb him. If you reckon well, much more was forgiven him than was taken from him. He will not enjoy riches, nor his grace and yours. He will not receive benefits, nor give them. Is he judged unhappy because he lost these things, or happy because he does not desire them? Believe me, he is happier who does not need fortune than he who has her propitious. All these goods that delight us with beautiful, although fallacious pleasure, money, dignities, power, and the other things that the blind covetousness of the human race looks at with astonishment, are possessed with labor and looked at with envy, breaking the very ones they adorn, and threatening more than they promise. These things are slippery and uncertain, and are never held securely, because when the fears of the future cease, the very preservation of great happiness is anxious in itself. If you want to give credit to those who fix their eyes on the truth most highly, all our life is a punishment. We are thrown into this deep and troubled sea, which with alternate tides is reciprocal, which, raising us now with sudden growth and then forsaking us with greater harm, unsettles us, without allowing us to remain in a firm place. We walk suspended and fluctuating, and some collide with others, and although shipwrecks sometimes occur, the fears are continuous. For those who sail on this tempestuous sea exposed to all storms, there is no other port but that of death. Do not, then, envy your brother who is now quiet, free, secure, and eternal. He has Caesar and all his generation alive. He has you and all the other brothers alive. He, when fortune showed herself favorable to him, and when with a liberal hand she was accumulating gifts for him, left her before she made any change in her favors. He is now enjoying a free and open sky, having passed from a humble and abject place to shine in that place, whatever it may be, which receives in its happy bosom the souls that leave their prisons. He now walks freely, and with supreme delight looks at all the goods of nature. You are mistaken, because your brother did not lose the light, but reached a safer one. The journey with him is common to all of us. Why do we mourn his destiny? That he left us, he departed earlier. Believe me that in the very great happiness there is the happiness of dying, there being no certain thing that lasts a day. Who, then, in such obscure and doubtful truth, divines whether death envied your brother or cared for him? It is also necessary that the justice that you maintain in all things help you to think that no injury was done to you in taking such a brother from you, but that grace was done to you for all the time you were permitted to use and enjoy his love. Unjust is he who does not leave discretion in the gifts to him who gives them, and covetous is he who does not compute as gains what he received, counting as loss what he returns. Ungrateful is he who calls the end of delight an injury. Ignorant is he who thinks that there is no fruit except in present goods, and he who is not appeased with the past, holding those that have gone as more certain, because there is no fear that they will leave again. He sets narrow limits to his pleasures who judges that he enjoys only those he has and sees present, not valuing those he had. Because the delight that runs and passes flees from us very quickly, and is almost taken from us before it comes. Thus, the spirit must be fixed on the past time, bringing back and dealing with what was possible for us at some time with frequent remembrance. The memory of delights is longer and more faithful than their presence. Place the fact of having had such a good brother among the supreme goods, and do not attend to the fact that you could have him much longer, but to the time you had him. The nature of things does with you what it does with other brothers, and it did not give him to you as property, but as a loan, and afterward it asked for him back when it wanted. And in this it did not attend to your satiety, but to its law. Will not he be held as unjust who bears uncomfortably paying the money that was lent to him, and particularly that which he received without any interest? Nature gave life to your brother, and she also gave it to you. And she, afterward using her right, collected the debt first from whom she wanted. No blame can be placed on her, her condition being so well known. It should be imputed to the covetous hope of the mortal spirit, which in such a way forgets what nature is, that it never remembers its existence except when admonished. Rejoice, then, for having had such a good brother, and give thanks for the usufruct that you enjoyed from him, even though it was briefer than you desired. Think that what you had was very delightful for you, and that what you lost was human, because there is nothing less congruent with each other than showing grief that such a brother lived for you for a short time, and not rejoicing that you had such a brother. You will tell me, "It is so, but he was taken from me when I did not expect it." His credulity and the forgetfulness of death in the things he loves deceive everyone. Nature promised no one that she would grant grace in the necessity of dying. The funerals of known and unknown people pass before our eyes every day, and we, distracted by other things, call sudden what is being intimated to us all our lives. According to this, the rigor of the fates is not to blame, but the malice of human understanding, which, insatiable of all things, feels the departure from the possession to which it was admitted by will. Thank you for listening to this audiobook until the end. If the content was to your liking, we invite you to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. This way, you will not miss our next publications.